Thank you again for standing by and welcome to today's Tivoli User Community webcast. Our topic for today is, What's New with Netcool? All phone lines are currently in a listen-only mode, and later there will be a question-and-answer session with further instructions being given at that time. You may ask a question at any time during the presentation using the chat window located in the control panel. Questions will be answered at the end of the presentation with the rest of the Q&A. Today's session is being recorded, and you'll be provided a copy of today's materials following the call. Now, I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. John Phillip has 20 years of experience in product management, ranging from element management software to high-level network and event management systems. He has worked with many industries, including telecommunications, IT companies, and many large enterprises. John currently is an offering manager in the Netcool Operations Insight team with focus on the operations management area and specialization in the omnibus integrations areas. Tom Randalls has over 10 years of experience in product management, covering performance and network management solutions for IT enterprise and telecommunication markets. Tom currently has offering management responsibilities for network management capabilities that are part of the Netcool Operations Insight offering. And James Moore is responsible for offering management and strategy for IBM Runbook Automation, Alert Notification, Application Dependency Discovery Manager, and Business Service Management Solutions. James joined IBM from the Candle acquisition in 2004, where he was a product manager for Candle's application response and time product lines. James has over 15 years of experience in business service management, application performance management, and event management. Gentlemen, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks very much, Sam. And on behalf of Tom and James, can I join in that welcome to today's call? We're going to take the presentation today in 3 separate sections, concentrating on overall Netcool, starting with the operations management side of things, then going into the network management, and finally the Runbook Automation side of things. As this presentation does have forward-looking aspects, I need to put up the forward-looking statement. Basically says this is what we intend to do, but if you like it a lot, we probably won't do it. When I start looking at operations management or event management, I feel as I've been saying these things for quite a long time. Operations are facing new challenges, but they are very similar to the challenges they've had before. Applications and services, that's what businesses are actually selling. They're not selling the operations management in general. But if those applications and services don't work properly, then that means that our customers will lose their customers, they will fail to hit their revenue targets, their reputation will be damaged, and the customers won't come back. So what we're looking at is providing tools to our operations to make sure that those critical resources are actually available at all times. We know that the IT operations can't keep up because everything is happening so quickly. I have been saying that for a long time, but things keep going quicker. There's a data explosion. As in the introduction, I've been in this area for over 20 years now. I remember 20 years ago saying the amount of data we're getting is much bigger than ever it was. But that's even more true today. It's only a couple of years ago that we noticed that we created more data in 1 year than we created in all of time up to that point. That means that we need to be much more efficient in what we're doing. Things cost more these days. I think we notice that across everything. So what we have to do is provide something that's reliable. So we're looking to give our customers something more efficient, more effective, and keep it reliable. So what we wanted to do is to help people get the diagnosis time down and the resolution time down so that they can hit their goals and keep their customers satisfied. What we're looking at from operations management, we're looking to accelerate that life cycle. It always starts from an operations point of view when you detect something you need to deal with. There may be lots of different pieces of information that you need to bring together. Once you've got that together, you then need to decide who's going to deal with it, let them know about it, and fix it. So you've got to drive that cycle much more quickly as time goes on. We're looking to consolidate that management, to provide off-the-shelf productivity there. It has to be able to go from the smallest area you're looking through to the largest environments you can possibly handle. And the way we look to do this at the moment is add analytics to our solution. We want to be able to provide more insight into what's going on, but also take away some of the work that needs to be done. So we need to identify things that are happening on a regular basis. We have to recognize patterns that are in there and get that through. Then provide the automation behind that to allow operators to do things automatically, eliminating manual steps for two reasons. One, automation is quicker, and two, it removes the possibility of error. And to do that, we build in the expertise. You've heard right at the start, there's certainly around about 5 decades of experience just between the three of us. But across IBM, there's so much more experience. We build that into the product and actually allow our users to see significant reduction in events out of the box. What are we doing? We're bringing together a combination of tried and tested market-leading products, you can see those across the top, and bring them together with new capabilities into a single offering that can be tailored to each and every customer's requirements. This is not getting rid of the standalone products. You can still buy individual piece parts if you want, but we see that there's a lot more value in putting things together in an offering that works together, that delivers you value out of the box. And you can see with Operations Insight, as we go through the timeline, we started by putting operations management in there. The power of Omnibus, adding the transformative analytics in there. Then we brought network management in. We're looking at network performance management. We're looking at run-based automation. We're looking at service composition. We're putting it into a single offering. You don't have to have all of it, but the bits that you have will work together to give you an overall offering that's much more efficient than doing it piece by piece. Just putting this slide up today because we're looking back at what we've done over the past year and a half. And I guess the key thrust of this slide is back in the old days, big software developments took a long time to do. You get a release every 18 or 24 months. You can see here in just over a year and a half, we've actually brought out 4 major chunks of functionality. I'll touch on some of them a little bit later and where they go in the future. For those who don't know, Operations Insight, based around the value of Netcool Omnibus, it has the capability to deal with whatever you want to throw at it. It is the most powerful event management tool in the marketplace. It is the most secure event management tool in the marketplace. It's the only EAL4 plus certified system out there. But you bring to that innovative event analytics, helps you to work more efficiently, helps you to be more agile in what you're doing, and gives you the ability to integrate across both IBM and non-IBM management solutions to provide you with a total capability. And as an adjunct to that, you've got the IBM Operations Analytics, both the predictive and the log analytics, which allow you to predict and search what's going on. Won't spend very much time on this slide. What you can actually see is a lot of analytics going into our product as we go along. We started with the search analytics. We then looked at seasonal event analytics, and I could go on for a good half hour just on seasonal event analytics and related event analytics. Related events, there's 2 lots there, the grouping and the analytics. It's almost relationships you know about, those you don't know about. So the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns. Recently we've brought out a new version of this, which is Actionable Seasonal Analytics. So you're not just spotting the problems that occur on a time period and says, well, there's something in it, but you're actually taking it further on so you can actually resolve those recurring problems from an actionable approach. I mentioned briefly the related event analytics and grouping. what we're looking at here is looking at things that always occur together. If you've got things that always occur together, there's probably one cause and not 2, 5, 10, 20, 100. So you can currently do this with event correlation rules, but you have to maintain that specialist knowledge. What we're doing is 2 forms here. One that comes out of the box that actually works together to bring it into a single thing. Key part here is you're not getting rid of the information that you're grouping into it. You see the top level, but if you need to, you can still dive down into what's underneath it. So it shows you what the cause is, but it also brings it together. And there's also the analytics part, which is automatically grouping those events. So it's learning from what happens in your system, in your environment, things that happen together, things that always happen together. Bring it together to cluster so you can look at it as a single problem to be dealt with. And we've actually done some validation with our customers on these analytics. I'm not going to go through all of these, but if I take the top one, the healthcare provider, we actually took 6 months worth of their data, 2.5 million events, which generated nearly 250,000 tickets. We used the event seasonality analytics. A significant proportion of the events with the tickets were highly seasonal. Gave us the potential to reduce the number of tickets that they were raising by 13%. We also ran the related event analytics on this. They brought over 16,000 tickets into one single ticket, generating operational saving of around 7%. And testing that with this particular customer, we showed a potential savings here of over $4.5 million. You can see the other two for the large bank and the large telco. I'm quite happy to go into more detail on some of these later on in the questions if we have time. But at this point, I'll hand back to Sam for our first polling question. Sam.
Thank you, John. All right, I'm launching a poll, ladies and gentlemen. Please feel free to answer. Do you believe analytics can be of value for your organization and help you become more efficient and effective? We'll let this run for a few seconds. Let everyone cast a vote. Let it run a few more seconds here. Let everyone get their last selections in. All right. So it looks like pretty unanimous. 78% vote yes, 6% said no, and 16% don't know. It looks like overwhelmingly people do believe analytics can be of value. All right, so let's move on to our next presenter here. Tom, I'm going to hand this over to you now.
Okay, thanks very much, and thanks to John for the first part of our presentation. Okay, so network management is an important part of Netcool Operations Insight. And what do we mean by network management? Well, let me just overview that here first. So network is management is going to cover the topology visualization first of all. Sorry, there's a problem here with some of the slides. Okay, so we discovered the network periodically. With that discovery, we have a clear track on the network status, and we visualize that. We can do that for planning purposes, but more importantly, the visualization is available also as part of our event outage process in the NOC. Monitoring, this is where we check on availability, we ping the network using different types of technologies, and we capture that. That's a key part, and we look at how we propose to have new presentation proposals about tracking availability in a minute. And of course, as part of outage, we have our event correlation using topology and giving us a root cause analysis pointer to where the problems are in our network. So that's Tivoli Network Manager, currently at version 4.1.1 and moving to 4.2 with this release. The next part of network management I want to bring your attention to is the configuration. So this is the part of the Netcool suite that actually writes to the network, which has standardized templates and ensures a standardized configuration of the entire network. Another important part of that configuration aspect is actually managing the compliance as well, and this is an overall automation offering to ensure that the configuration and the compliance are adhering to company policies in relation to the network. So if we move on to the next, that's an overview of network management. This slide is just covering some of the drumbeat we've had for network management in terms of content this year. We've released an important Cisco Nexus update with some new collectors that facilitate being able to manage the new Cisco NXOS and its particular emphasis on logical and virtualized environments. First of all, being able to interrogate the Nexus virtual device context and say, well, what are the logical entities now that are being hosted on that, and being able to drill down and understanding the one-to-many relationships, for instance, the many virtual routing and forwarding entities and VLANs, etc., that are going to be hosted in this new NXOS environment that Cisco have now. We also have the ability to be able to track the virtual port channel and to be able to understand that fabric connectivity within the data center. Our focus has been on Cisco Nexus 7000, but we do have the option of supporting other versions as well. The others 10K and 3000 as well. Network aware search is a very important synergy between the heritage we have around network topology and bringing that to bear in some of our event search. So this enables us to be able to look at event search and using the topology knowledge with endpoints to be able to do path traces. So this is again part of the overall theme of Operations Insight, getting greater insight into your data, event data archive using topology and what are the issues in your business. A very exciting delivery we've made this year as well, and getting a lot of traction, especially from our telco environment, is a GIS capability. This is being able to export that topology onto Google Maps, and this especially for that geographical spread. Where are my devices? What is their status? What is the linkage status across the geography? It's one of those NOC capabilities that management especially like to see. It gives that visualization of the geographical spread of the network and its overall health. So we've had some very interesting feedback on this. This is currently available on Service Management Connect, and we'll be looking to GA that early next year. And finally then Wi-Fi support. So for our enterprise customers, Wi-Fi has been a huge part of that infrastructure for some time now. And we've had the capacity to be able to discover and model the Cisco access points. And this helps with overall monitoring and outage management for Wi-Fi. So that's another planned for this Q4 in 2015. So just an overview there of content, that aligns with John's point earlier as well about having an agile and a deliver often policy in relation to capability. So this slide is at a glance is how the next release of network management in Netcool Operations Insight. We're very excited about this. It's if I was to characterize this in a simple phrase, it would be about transforming user experience, and that has been, we've embraced design thinking, which important key sponsor users, and that's both from our enterprise client base and the telco community as well, to actually give us the feedback and the input we needed to be able to design a new network health dashboard. For example, here the first piece of content. We're also we're updating our deployment process. This is a common deployment based on IBM Install Manager that's already part of Netcool Operations Insight, and the network management content will use IBM Install Manager, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. Now we've also got just general product improvements around historical polling, just performance improvements that we've introduced as well. You can see there as well important detail around some of the platform support. AIX is being reintroduced into the Tivoli Network Manager line, and we're continuing with our Linux, Red Hat, and SUSE Linux support as well. And the default database, the IBM DB2, 10.1 and 10.5 support here, along with the optional Oracle 11G support as well. So that's an overview of the release. This is currently scheduled for Q4, the end of Q4, Netcool Operations Insight 1.4. So drilling into more of the detail in this 1.4 release. So starting with the very important network health dashboard. So this is something engaging with our NOC customers. We've come up with a design that, to give the support personnel an instant network health visibility for the overall health, and this is both of benefit for the support personnel, and we feel the management as well will benefit from having this up on the screen in the NOC. It's not just a dashboard, it also facilitates drilling down into the traditional capabilities of the Netcool suite. This includes the topology, and visualization. It also includes the event viewer and network hop views working in conjunction with the event view, something our users will be familiar with. So this is designed to be highly configurable, segment the dashboard. It's going to be use all the different data sources available to us in the Netcool suite, and I'll go into that in more detail in a minute. So also has a performance capability. This is designed to give the worst performing devices on the dashboard as an option, and of course we want this to be rapidly deployable as well, with some out-of-the-box content. This would be important for our key device support, key strategic vendors, etc. So that's an overview of the network health dashboard. It's based on HTML5 with no Java or Applets required. So this has been a very well-received message, and we're very excited about the network health dashboard. Here it is in more detail, the actual content that it contains. So I'll start describing this from the top left, because this is the most important part, and it involves how we divide up our network to actually manage it. And These, what you're looking at there on the top left are actually the network topology views that are bookmarked in Tivoli Network Manager. So we're utilizing that historical capability, and so we can actually segment the network based on geography. We can do it based on network service, such as MPLS VPNs, for example, or we can do so based on customers even. So that's an important segmentation. So in terms of how what else is presented just on that segmentation, you can see from the screen here we have event summaries and which are color coded as well, and you've also got a list of unique events for that particular for all of the segmentations. So an important point is that the rest of the network health dashboard will actually have up-to-date visibility on whichever actual segment you actually select to look at. So that's you'll have an automatic refresh along timelines for the different widgets we're actually showing on the dashboard. The next one to bring your attention to is network availability, and so this is the presentation of the polling data. So the actual boxes, the yellow, the blue there, they represent non-responsive devices, and so for example, you've got the ability, well, what are the devices that have not responded within an hour, what are the devices that haven't responded within 2 hours, and that's the color coding available there. And just below that you'll see an overall network availability percentage over time. So you'll get that update every hour, for example, and it will give you up to 100% if your network is fully healthy on availability monitoring. So just at a glance, you'll be able to see that all my polling are returning healthy, and a very important part of the use of the network management capability, easily visible. The next one I want to bring your attention to is the network viewer, just below that, the network availability on the left-hand side, bottom left. And this is the new Omnibus 8.1 event viewer, but filtered in the context of what it is we're actually looking at on the network health, as with all the widgets on the dashboard, context everything. The next one I want to bring your attention to, just to the right of the event viewer on the bottom right-hand side, we have the configuration data. So what is this showing? Well, it's actually telling us important information about configuration changes. For example, out-of-band changes is a key one, and these are the top changes that network management subject matter experts may use directly on devices, often the cause of network outages, and this available operations to actually track these, and more importantly, it will enable you to be able to align the actual events related to configuration changes, because if a misconfiguration has been made and has generated events immediately, well, then the NOC support people will be able to look at this and immediately make the connection that A, someone has misconfigured the network, and B, these events are highlighting that fact. And also of tremendous value is the actual looking at the configuration history, and this is a unit of work history, i.e. what device has been updated, when was it done, more importantly, who actually made the change. So that information then is critical configuration information just in terms of managing the overall network. Finally, on the top right-hand part of it, we have the performance widget, which is basically Tivoli Network Manager poll data, and this is the ability to for KPI metrics, performance data effectively that Tivoli Network Manager is able to capture, and we've presented this as performance data here as well, and it's in an aggregated form, and this is where you can look at the worst performing devices, for example. So moving quickly, I'll take one more minute. User experience transformed, and the key message here is about the removal of Java applets from the entire Tivoli Network Manager client experience. So that's an important message. Finally, then, simplified deployment. This is the ability to manage much better the actual standing up network management as part of a Netcool Operations Insight deployment, using a much stronger repository focus where all the packages are there ready at the right versions, and much better error checking. And an important part of that, transforming the overall user experience with Netcool Network Management. So that's me finished. Sam, do we have a poll question at this point?
Yep, we sure do. Let me launch that. Ladies and gentlemen, will the network health dashboard's visibility be valuable to your network operations center and let you quickly solve problems? We'll let this one stay open for a few seconds again like we did the previous one. Got a good amount of everyone answered so far. We'll let it hang out for another 5-10 seconds here to let everyone else cast a vote. All right. Again, looks like overwhelmingly 81% of the audience felt that it would be valuable to the Network Operations Center. And we have a few people that would like more information. We'll make sure we have your contact information provided, and you'll be reached out to. All right, so James, I'm going to pass this off to you now.
Okay. All right, Sam, is that showing up?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, good. All right, so I'll cover some completely new capabilities that we're bringing to the overall suite. I won't even call it an overview. I'll call it more of a teaser. But there's some really cool, exciting stuff that is completely new, stuff that many of us on the team have wanted to see brought to market for a long time, and we're really excited about it coming now. And it's really complementing the Netcool suite with automation capabilities. And I'm going to cover what are really two different sets of capabilities that work hand in hand, but they're designed to work with the Netcool suite, and then also with some of the other parts of the portfolio and other tools that you might have. But primarily, we're coming to market with the goal in mind of adding immediate value to what you're already using today. And we do that by providing, enabling you to create or pull in the subject matter expertise, the guidelines that operators need to be more effective and be faster at what they do at each phase of the incident management or event management lifecycle, and to automate some of those tasks where it makes sense, and to do that very easily. Right? There have been different ways of doing that over the years that people have been innovative with on their own, or ways that IBM has provided some building blocks and toolkits to do that, but this is a completely different layer of capabilities that makes that experience much, much easier and much more effective in rolling this kind of practice out. So So there's the Runbook Automation capability that we're bringing to market, and then alert notification capability. So Runbook Automation, it's a pretty common term. If you're familiar with it, it's really coupling together the concept of runbooks, which have been around for ages, or standard operating procedures, or whatever you might call them, with the ability to automate some of those steps. So picture an operator, level 1, level 2 operator doing triage of an event coming in. There are certain things that those operators are going to do either almost every time or quite often, given a specific event. So depending on what type of an event it is, or what kind of problem, or what kind of task is at hand, there are repeatable tasks that we want our operators to do consistently and on a repeated basis. Of course, even if you're using Netcool to its fullest, you still get to a point where you're doing some of those tasks manually. I do know of companies out there that are really creative and really innovative and have already introduced certain levels of automation, but it takes a lot of work, and it takes just to create, and it takes a lot of work to maintain, and that's what we want to change with Runbook Automation. So make the creation of these guidelines that you're going to provide, of the steps that people need to take, and then automating those steps as it's appropriate, and giving you different ways on which you can execute those automated tasks much easier. So I'll cover a couple of quick examples of what that is. That's a big area that we really want to start getting your feedback on and start understanding how it's going to fit into your environment and improve your organization. Alert notification is one of those things that's also been around for a long time, and we're introducing it in context of how our Netcool users use the Netcool suite today, but we're also we expect companies to leverage it if they're using our performance management suite, and then other areas as we go forward. But those are the ways where we expect companies to have an event or a performance alert trigger off an automated notification, and giving everybody the ability to stay on the same page and provide immediate context of what event or what performance alert is at hand, and even provide a pointer to one of the runbooks that I'll show you some examples of, or a pointer to a ticket, or a prompter of some sorts to drive some type of action. But really to create that awareness and do so in a very smart way that's tied to the event or the incident at hand. So that's the quick overview. I'm going to give you quickly a couple different examples of some of the predominant use cases, of some of which I already touched on. But really, we're thinking of this as, if you separate it into two main groups. The first at the top here is that the people that are on the front lines, right? So I mentioned the level 1, level 2 operators. It could also be, oh, sorry, I got this backwards. So those are at the bottom. We'll work from the bottom up. So the people on the front lines are level 1, level 2 operators. It could also be the subject matter experts. They may have a subject matter expertise of one of the domains of technology that you're running, or it could be in a certain discipline, depending on how your organization is set up. Those are the people we really want to receive the runbook guidance. We want them to benefit from automated steps, and we want them to be able to track what they do and rate what they do. And we also want them to know that they're expected to do these things consistently, and they're expected to leverage this tool if it's a good fit for the organization in order to make those efforts easier. So we want to eliminate their manual steps when they triage an event, for example, and eliminate the situations where a level 1 operator doesn't know what the next step should be. That's going to take some subject matter expertise and some what I call brain dumping of the intellectual capital that your organizations have in order to provide them that level of expertise. So in order to provide that with them, provide that to them and provide that experience that's illustrated on the bottom, we need to arm the operations programmers that's pictured at the top. And these roles all go by different names, but this is the person that would be the one that would write a runbook or write an automated task, or at least have the knowledge about how things should work to provide that level of guidance and advice to the folks that are on the front lines at the bottom. And so we are going to empower this operations programmer and people like that in those roles to very easily in a sandbox environment create and update and delete runbooks, pulling in existing standard operating procedure content and putting it into a tool that can be is very easy to edit, and then introduce parameters, introduce automated tasks with some, and often with some simple clicks, and then giving the ability to control who can authorize, so who on the operations team can access and read the runbooks to begin with, and who can actually run the runbooks or use them, and who can run automated tasks. All of that is under control of the operations programmer. And you can fit this to however it makes sense. If you have people that are subject matter experts that deserve that kind of control, it's up to you. But the idea is to arm those people to help each other. We do that by providing this as a software as a service and leveraging the IBM Cloud to provide that operations programmer a real easy place to do that sandbox type of activity, we call it. So the non-production creation of content, test it out, and then provide it to the front lines in a couple different ways. At first, it'll be through a secure gateway that launches from our cloud and executes locally. As we go forward, and I encourage you all to reach out to me individually, and I can give you more details on this. As we go forward, we'll have several different options on how and where those runbooks and where the automated steps can execute from, and how you can manage those to fit your criteria. So I think we have a polling question before I go to the next slide. Is that right, Sam?
Yep, that's correct. Let me launch that. How often does your organization use runbooks?
And I just want to add something to that, Sam, but I think you can read the options. But the idea here is we talked to a lot of companies that have runbooks today. A lot of them are manual. A lot of them are standard operating procedures or some other name. It's really steps of what to do in an operations setting.
Great. Got a good amount of people voting at this point. Feel free to place your vote. We'll just hang out for another 10 seconds or so. All right. Looks like the lion's share split a little bit between multiple times per day at 39% and then 32% never. And then a few people run it once per day, and then another smaller percentage 1 to 2 times per week and a few times per month.
Good. Okay, that's actually what I expected.
All right.
So I really want to talk, especially for the folks that said never. I want to understand how this type of thing would fit in your organization. And this may be, depending on the reasons why that you answered never, this could be a way to change some of that. And I'd like to hear from you. So moving along, I wanted to just dive a little bit into what kind of, when we talk about the Runbook automation capability that we're providing, just give you a little bit of an illustration of what we are going to provide, and then really there's a lot more we could talk about on this. I encourage you to reach out and we can give you a full in-depth demo. There's also a beta and proof of technology set of sessions and trials that are starting a little bit later this month that we can get you hooked up with. So we've really separated and qualified the types of runbook automation into 3 different categories. The first is a manual runbook, and for everybody that answered yes, we use runbooks, this would be a more systematic version of what you might already do today. Rather than have something in a PDF or in some static document, though, you would have guidelines and steps in this service and in this application that you can actively edit. You could easily leverage and create, use as a template, create new ones. You could distribute in multiple different ways and control in multiple different ways to make it a much more systematic effort. And then you can have people rate them and measure how they're being used, even if it's just a set of guidelines that tell people what to do next. So those are the manual runbooks. The others, the next phase that we see people going in, if you're one of the people that aren't using this or don't have a practice here, this is a way to adopt one. So you start with manual runbooks, and then you can quickly, depending on the nature of what you're doing, you can quickly introduce automated steps. And that's what we call semi-automated runbooks. And there are, if I was able to show a full demo here, you would see how easy it is to create a parameter using certain plain language text and make that an executable set of function. Or you could put in commands or pull in different steps that are already automated. So that's semi-automated runbooks. And then the last one is fully automated runbooks. So you may have certain tasks where you know that it's safe to have it run from an event trigger all the way to being resolved without any human involvement. And that could be something as simple as pinging a server that you want to fully automate, or it could be refreshing a disk if it's safe, if it's something that's routine. A lot of different examples of the routine, repetitive types of tasks where you would want to take the procedures that you know people need to do and then fully automate them. And those could come also in the form of a progression, right, where you start with manual, you introduce some semi-automated, and then there's some analysis that shows that you have a high level of activity along those lines, and you can elect to fully automate some of those steps. Just a quick example of what your library could look like. So as you build these, what we'll do is we'll provide you with ways to gear certain types of events to be triggers to a runbook. Those will direct the operators to the library that they have access to, and they would be able to pick either directly from a runbook. They would either be directed right to the runbook itself or directed to a library of options that might be relevant to a certain event type that they could then pick, and they could see how effective they've been. They can see how many times they've been run, that type of activity, so they know that, hey, you're not the first one using this, and it's something that's safe. And for the different types of users, there'll be pertinent information here as they see fit. So moving along, so I really, to this point, covered quickly the runbook automation capability. The other piece that I mentioned is the alert notification management. And that's where we've made it real easy to have an event trigger as well. Kick off an automated alert based on the profiles that you set up. Those could be an email alert, could be an SMS, voicemail. There'll be a mobile app associated with this as well. You're able to set up user profiles so that the right people get the right type of information automatically. And that could be an individual or it could be a group of people. And when there's a set of escalation capabilities here that where if that person or someone that's on call doesn't respond within a certain set period of time, then that could roll to the next person that could then make sure they have the alert, they have the awareness, and then they would respond. So it prompts not only awareness, but it prompts response, and so someone can look and see who's handling a certain type of event. I think, Sam, that brings us to another polling question, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, it does. Does your organization send event-driven automated alerts to operations staff? And the options are yes, we do that today, not yet, but we are planning on it, not yet, but we'd like to know more on how IBM can help, and no plans in the near future. We'll let this run another 10 seconds or so, so get your vote in, please, if you'd like. And again, looks like the lion's share, yes, we do that today at 77%, 12% not yet, but are planning on it, 5% not yet, but like to know how IBM can help. So again, we'll make sure we get your information to everyone here. And then 6% have no plans in the future.
Okay, well that's good. So this is something, as I mentioned, has been in the market for a while. We're introducing it now as part of our suite. So if you're using a tool or doing it on your own, this will be a viable alternative for you. We want to hear from you how it matches up to what you're already doing. And there are ways where we see some differentiation, and we want to be able to show you where some of that is. So I look forward to hearing from you on that topic as well. And I think, Sam, we want to bring it to a close and open it up for some Q&A. I think I just have one or two more slides here. One, this just a recap of the roadmap that we showed earlier. This is, as you see, everything we showed here is a part of extending and complementing the core value of Netcool. And you could expect us to continue to do so, and to keep adding to the areas that we talked about today, but also future areas where we have a lot of investment in this space and where we'll see a lot more capabilities going forward.
All right, excellent. John, I'm going to pass this back to you for the final slide for our Q&A portion here. And we will open up for Q&A, so thank you, everybody. If you would like to ask a question, please do so using the chat window located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We have a few here, so let me get myself organized. First question is, can we, I just scrolled right away from that question. Can we use ITM6 for automated runbook actions? And if yes, how is it integrated?
James, do you want to handle that one?
Sorry about that. I was switching phones. Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I can hear you now. The question's around ITM6. Can we use ITM6 to do automated actions?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways that you can do that. So there's with Runbook Automation, we've built in event triggers. So if ITM6 is kicking off an event into Omnibus, for example, or into Netcool Operations Insight, then there'll be a built-in way where you could just go through a trigger service and designate what type of event you want to kick off the specific runbooks. And there's several different ways you can set that up. If you want to have it, and then the other piece is where with alert notification, you'll be able to trigger off alerts, automated alerts, based on the parameter set that match up to the ITM alert, for example. So that would be direct. The other way would be if you wanted to have a runbook work directly with ITM6, but you don't have, for some reason you weren't sending events to Omnibus, it would be a few steps involved there, but we have a roadmap item where we would have triggers for that as well. But right now you would want to leverage the eventing from Omnibus.
Great. Is the upgrade available only on Linux platform?
So I'm not quite sure which upgrade we're talking about there, but we have a variety of platforms, and we're always adding to the platforms that support. Linux is one of our primary platforms, but we do have support in other platforms, particularly AIX and ZLinux.
I missed part of the first half of that question. It was in two parts. I've seen that the NOI 1.3 permits to upgrade, and also Network Manager to version 4.1.1, and what are the benefits of this upgrade? I think then the follow-up was the upgrade available on the Linux platform.
So the network management upgrade is available on Linux.
Analytics usually comes with a price of high processing power. Does Netcool Operations Insight need any additional hardware or prerequisite the Netcool suite?
That's one of those questions that's a bit like how long is a piece of string. The deployment that we'd normally envisage for something that included Omnibus, Network Manager, Impact, will normally have sufficient power to handle the majority of the analytics that we're doing. Clearly, with the associated analytics I referred to, which was the predictive insights and the log analysis, the more data that you're bringing in to process, the more processing power is required. But we do give guidance about what best practices for deployment are from our best practices team. So if you're using the standard analytics in a standard way with not too much data, you're probably all right with what you've currently got. The more data you use, the more storage and processing power you're going to require.
Excellent. We had several questions asking if all this, including runbooks and everything, was part of NOI 1.4.
Yeah, let me answer that one. So the alert notification capability is part of NOI 1.4. It's also part of our APM software as a service solution if you have that. And if you have both, you can, and you have a mix of users, you'll be able to use those together. That's really something we expect people, we want people to take advantage of as fast as it suits them. So think of that as a component of Netcool Operations Insight. With Runbook Automation, it's a little bit different. It's an optional value add that we do charge a subscription for separately. And if you reach out to me, I can get into the details on that. That's something that we see as another layer of value that a lot of people will want to take advantage of, and then expand beyond Netcool as we go forward. But we're primarily designed it for use of Netcool. You don't have to have Operations Insight. You can have an old version of Omnibus Impact, and it'll work in conjunction with those. But there's things we're building into NOI as we roll it out, like with 1.4 and then after that, where it'll make it a lot easier for you to take advantage of that capability as a base. There'll be built-in things like triggers that will make it much easier to adopt.
Excellent. What makes IBM Network Config Management stand out from, say, SolarWinds NCM or HPIMC Network Config Management modules?
Okay. So we do have a fully integrated capability between typically Network Manager and Config Manager with this release, including integrations, leveraging our third-party vendor relationship. So we think it's a strong offering. We have improved that integration with this release. We think the Network Health Dashboard helps to present that data in a much more integrated fashion as part of the overall Netcool operational presentation. It's not just an isolated config management anymore with this release. It is integral to how an operations will embrace the Netcool solution to run their the network. We think especially the compliance part is a sweet spot for configuration that customers are exploiting, particularly those with a security concern, that managing a full end-to-end business compliance policy for your network is hugely beneficial for our clients. So overall, we think it's a strong and competitive offering in the market.
Excellent. Well, unfortunately, we have run out of time. There are some additional questions that are remaining. We'll make sure to get these posted on the Tivoli user community and also work with John, Tom, and James to make sure that we get these all answered and responded to directly. But John, Tom, James, thank you very much for your time and your expertise. That was a wonderful presentation.
Thanks very much for attending.
Thank you, everyone.